good morning. This is What's Cooking at Shell Point, and I'm here. I'm Ruth Duber,
and I'm David Lee.
Yes, and this is David's show. So I'm going to let him go ahead. He's got something really wonderful.
Well, let's hope so.
I'll get you get started.
Anyway, I'm going to today make for you a butternut squash sauce. And I want to tell you a little bit how I got it. If you watch some of the shows, you know that my wife and I are allergic to garlic. So it's a challenge sometimes when we go to restaurants. But one of our favorite places in the world, at least in Florida world, is Disney. And we really love eating at Disney because when you say you have a garlic allergy, the chef comes out and he doesn't just say what you can't eat. He tells you what he will do for you. And our favorite restaurant there is Citrico's, which is in the Grand Floridian. And if you're ever there, you got to go to Citrico's. Mm-hmm. And what I want to do for you today is the sauce that Margie wanted to have on the fish dish had garlic in it. So he says, but I'll fix you a sauce. And the other thing I learned, not just there, but oftentimes if you like something, they'll give you the recipe. So I said to the chef, gee, could you share this recipe? And they will share almost any recipe at Disney with you. So guess what? Here's their butternut squash recipe. And we're going to show you how, I'm going to do a couple little variations on it to make it simpler. But it's a great sauce to have for both chicken and fish, which we eat a lot of these days. So let's get started. We're going to start with butternut squash. And we start with the squash. And I know for some of you, it may be hard to cut this, Ruth.
It is very hard to cut.
So you can buy it shrink wrapped and already cut.
Yes.
So, and for today's show, I thought ahead, and so I baked it in the oven for about an hour. Actually, this in for about an hour and a half, and so it's ready to go. So we only need about a half of one for this for today's recipe. The other half I would have for a vegetable, for dinner. So, anyway, we got our squash ready, and then it calls for 4 ounces. He used blood orange juice, but I can't get that. So who doesn't love the Sun Harvest orange juice here?
That's great.
So I substitute that for that. So that's 4 ounces of orange juice. Now he calls for 4 ounces of butter melted, and most of you don't have a scale, I know, but that's about 3.5 tablespoons of butter. And it calls for 1 shallot. And then it also, he calls for 16 ounces of water to cook the butternut squash in if you're going to do it on the stove, and then mix that together. But I'm substituting some homemade chicken stock for that today, just to add more flavor to it. So let's start by getting the shallot cut up using my mom's method of cutting an onion or shallot. And some of my friends were like, they'd never seen this before, and all I can tell you, my mom ended up going to high school in Canada. Her father got transferred there to help open a John Deere plant quite a few years ago. And if you lived in Canada when my mom was growing up, this is how they taught you to dice onions and shallots, so it's all cut up nice. So we'll put that in here. Okay. So there's our shallots and my nice sharp knife.
Yes, he has the sharpest knives.
Yeah. I'm learning to do that here at the wood shop.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
It's a work in progress. Okay, so it calls for 8 ounces of butternut squash, which
is that about a half of the one that you baked?
I'd say it's about a half one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is one of those things where you can just kind of use the half and make this to the taste that you really want out of it. So there's our squash. And then we'll put the shallot in here. Then we'll get our melted butter. Ruth, after we're done here, we'll have a party and we'll polish the copper.
Okay.
How's that?
That's the only reason I don't have it.
And our 4 ounces of orange juice. And it calls for 16 ounces of water or juice.
David makes a wonderful chicken stock. I've had it a couple times, and it's nothing like what you get in the can.
2 days ago, I can't throw my chicken bones out.
I know. I always
2 days ago, we had a roasted chicken, so yesterday I just...
you made your broth.
Yeah. So we have the time here.
Oh, sure.
Now, the thing I learned in doing this little recipe is I'm not going to pour all the juice in at once. It probably will need it, but I don't want it to be too runny.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So we're going to pour about half of that in because it depends how dry the squash is.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll turn the blender on here. And I'm really glad it didn't pour it all in because...
That's right. That looks just about right.
Yeah, it's just a nice consistency. So
Oh, that's perfect.
here is our sauce. Okay? So that's our sauce. Now, I'm also thinking, okay, somebody's going to say, what am I going to do with all of this sauce? Right? So I want to give you a tip of what I do. Yes, you can take the recipe down, but and if you have a smaller amount of butternut squash, you can do it. But what I like to do is use my ice cube trays, Ruth,
Uh-huh.
and I freeze it. And they come right out.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that.
And this way, when I make it, I just put them in a baggie.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Oh,
got,
that's a wonderful idea.
I got plenty of them for
Uh-huh.
lunches or dinners.
Well,
or,
and I think, if you're just one person, that is the way to keep it.
right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Then you
that
can
would
just
work.
take out what you need.
Uh-huh.
And this will last in the freezer for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank goodness for Ziploc bags.
Oh, yes, yes. They are great.
So just another little tip with it.
That's wonderful.
So, so we'll put that back in the freezer. And we hope we can find it next time we want it.
I have the same problem.
Okay, so now what I want to show you, what I'm going to do to finish here, is this is great for leftovers. Just great for leftovers. We happened to have had dinner last night, and we actually had potatoes, Harvey Coverts, and scallops. So, but I told you that I cooked a whole chicken the other day. Well, so now Margie and I can have a wonderful lunch with my sauce. So I like to cut my chicken up. And try not to drop too much on the floor. We'll spread this around here.
I found out when my children are here, of course, they're all really grown and so forth, but they all have dogs. And in my kitchen, when they're here, there's things that go on the floor, and they don't even see them because they never
Right.
get to see them. The
Yeah, the
dogs are
dogs do.
right there.
Now, my secret ingredient, that sauce is perfect the way it is. You might want to put a little salt and pepper in it if you want to taste. But my secret ingredient, and I don't do this until the last minute, is I actually added just a splash of cream.
Oh, okay.
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 So don't have to, but it just changes the flavor a bit. And
Could you use a dollop of sour cream?
You certainly could.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
I think sour cream seems to be an ingredient that almost everybody has in their refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, because it's so versatile, you use it for so many things.
So now, what I'll do for our lunch today is just spread some sauce over here, and about 40 seconds in the microwave, and it wouldn't be me, Ruth, without a sprig of parsley on
Oh,
it,
I know. Okay, there it is.
and a little parsley on it, and
That's beautiful.
there's a quick little leftover lunch. Doesn't look too bad, does it?
No, it
Yeah.
looks very appetizing. Oh, I'm anxious to try the sauce.
So
Yeah.
there you got it. That's what's
Okay.
cooking here
What-
in my
yeah.
kitchen today.
Alrighty.
And if you get a chance to go to Disney, I hope you'll go to our favorite restaurant, Citrico's, and ask for a recipe and bring it back and share it with me. So
That's a wonderful idea. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And this is another show for What's Cooking at Shell Point. Join us sometime.
bye now.